رسول الله يا حبيب الله ورسول الله يا حبيب الله يا شفيع الله يا نبي الله يا رسول الله يا حبيب الله ورسول الله وحبيب الله يا شفيع الله يا نبي الله.
The seerah of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, the sunnah of the Prophet, is very important to every age. The prophetic message. What is the prophetic message? It's a message of social justice. It's a message of service to mankind. It's a message of compassion, and it's a message of building civilization.
It's important to kind of remind ourselves what kind of a man he was and what kind of a model he can be for us as we move forward in the coming century.
Well, because I mean he's our role model, and everybody, it's who we look up to. It's when we have questions, it's like, what did the Prophet do? What did the Prophet say? So we always turn back to the Prophet.
Right, and so his message is his living example, and it's something that all of us should follow and apply to our lives because it's timeless, and because he is the model.
Our Muslim generation, especially the young generation, isn't very well informed about the Prophet, so I think that this convention is going to provide an opportunity for them to learn more, and this also helps the adults kind of connect with the younger generation about the Prophet.
As if you think about it, this year especially was the year of liberation, the year where the countries came out and they were ready to fight for their freedom, ready to get what they deserved, and it kind of says it, justice and liberty. We finally are ready to get what we deserve and get our rights back.
I think it's important for people, I mean like modern day youth, to understand like what the Prophet ﷺ really was like.
I think that over time we've kind of begun to forget about the Prophet ﷺ's model, and if we return to that model, we'll realize that a lot of problems that we face can be easily dealt with.
Conferences, I feel that the overwhelming presence of Muslimin who are both deen-oriented and professional and just loving people, this helps lift my spirit and it helps get me in a mood to accept the knowledge that the scholars are dishing out at these kind of conferences.
The theme about Prophet ﷺ, his life, what he stood for, really applies to every human being in every time and every place, and specifically here, liberty, justice. It's what this country stands for and what we Muslims stand for.
Well, there's this tendency to approach a lot of moral issues with the assumption that there's always going to be an inevitable conflict of interest. I think Muhammad ﷺ was someone who was able to show that there was a balance, that we don't necessarily have to compromise our different rights and the different things that we associate with justice, such as like faith and liberty.
Actually, if you look around the world now, there's so much injustice going on, and it's time for the world to come back to realities and to come back to God, where God is just and His rules is the justice. How justice is in Islam for all people. It's not just for Muslims or for whites or for blacks, or it's justice for all, and justice does not know any boundaries or any race or any color or
يا شفيع الله يا نبي الله يا رسول الله يا حبيب الله ورسول الله وحبيب الله يا شفيع الله يا نبي الله.
Love has liberated you, and when we're in love with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, everything else becomes secondary.
Our convention, reaching out to the Muslim community and to the wider community, where tens of thousands of attendees come and hear from various viewpoints on various aspects of our faith, exemplifying what Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam has taught us as part of our faith.
Because while in the state of taqwa, we do not violate the rights of others. We do not violate the prohibitions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We do not violate the commands of Allah Azza wa Jal. and ihsan, we behave with all the creatures of Allah Azza wa Jal in the most beautiful possible of ways. حسن الخلق.
عشان أطمن عليكم من شدة إحساس النبي بأنه نفسه الناس كلها تحب ربنا وتقرب لربنا، ربنا قال له واحدة واحدة على نفسك. أنت هتموت نفسك، ما تزعلش نفسك كده على اللي مش بيسمع كلامك. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، فلا تذهب نفسك عليهم حسرات.
It's a command. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself, as quoted in the Quran, says, وَأُمِرْتُ لِأَعْدِلَ بَيْنَكُمْ. Allah says about him, وَأُمِرْتُ, say to them, وَأُمِرْتُ لِأَعْدِلَ بَيْنَكُمْ. I have been commanded to do justice amongst you.
I want you to know that the founding fathers were great not because they agreed. Oftentimes they disagreed, had major differences, but the ability to come together despite the differences for the good of the nation, very good debate. I love all of these brothers. I'm very, very happy to share together, to work together, to compromise for the good of the Muslims. I am so happy to be a part of this great movement.
I will be attending MAS-ICNA Convention 2012.
I will be attending MAS-ICNA Convention 2012.
I will be attending MAS-ICNA Convention 2012.
I will be attending the MAS-ICNA Convention, inshallah, next year.
I'll be attending the MAS-ICNA next year.
I will be attending the MAS-ICNA Convention this year.
I will be attending the MAS-ICNA Convention this year.
I'll be attending the MAS-ICNA Convention this year.
Inshallah, I will be attending MAS-ICNA Convention 2012.
I will be attending MAS-ICNA Convention 2012.
I will be attending MAS-ICNA Convention for this year.